Hi, this is Muscle Phil back again. And I'm going to talk about something I believe I talked about a couple of videos ago, but I'm going to give you an update. And one of the things that I am becoming passionate about, passion doesn't need a qualifier, is the Western Wisconsin Ad Hoc Committee for the Restoration of Net Neutrality. And I'm going to take it initially from my perspective as a public intellectual writer and academic, and say that I've developed an interest in an area of research called behavioral economics. And behavioral economics is in some ways a kind of economics that looks at economics in terms of what people actually do, rather than some kind of optimizing, maximizing model of what human behavior should be. And so it, in a sense, argues that we're not as rational as we think we are. And there are a number of these people that I've read. What I did yesterday was I decided that from my home, using the internet, I would study the works and mostly the speeches, because I'm an audio-visual learner, of Nobel Prize winners in economics. And I started with Daniel Kahneman originally, who really introduced behavioral economics into economic language. And then I got reading an author named Michael Lewis, who is a public intellectual. He's written a very wide range of things, all the way from Moneyball, The Blind Side, Flash, and as I listened to him talk about how he had written Moneyball, and what Moneyball is really, it's a book about the Oakland A's baseball team, and how they were able, the manager was able to generate a team by buying players that other teams did not see value in. And the thing that really excited me about what he said, maybe because I'm kind of an unusual looking athlete myself, was he said when he saw the Oakland A's come out of the shower room, he said, well, where are the real Oakland A's? These guys look like the staff of a magazine or something. But in fact, they were the best players at that position according to certain statistical formulas by which you could figure in different aspects of performance. All right, so what he said was, he said most people reviewed the book very kindly, but Richard Haller had said that really all he needed to do was read Daniel Kahneman's work to see that the things that were happening in baseball were just, in fact, a reflection of the way we made economic decisions in real life. Now, I want to make sure, I'm just going to call him Dr. Thaler so I don't embarrass myself. Dr. Thaler is somebody I would hope to meet someday, because he was talking about his experience in trying to have his type of economics inform policy decisions either in professional sports or in business. And also, as I heard him speak, I'm picking this up as I go along, but I enjoy doing this. He said that economics as a social science were very important because they were the only social sciences that really advised governmental policy decisions. And that really, to me, for a guy who maybe looked like a steam fitter, somebody I could relate to. That sounded like a really interesting thing, a really interesting way to look at things. And then I thought, I'm going to get back to this because I'm talking public intellectual stuff. And what I'm doing, if I can't make a claim that we should have some kind of backbone, free internet access, or something like it in Eau Claire, I'm asking the taxpayers to fund my hobby. And that's not fair for anybody to do. So I'm working on this Facebook post where I said, contrary to what you might think, local and global are not a contradiction in terms. And an opinion piece by Phil Kaveny, and you'll find that in my blog in not too long, and you could find it in Facebook. Well, I'm going to go back to I think it's Dr. Thaler and his commentary about whether or not people would optimize the insights of behavioral economics. And he had been hired by General Motors, who produced a very effective rebate and very low interest program to get rid of a inventory problem in the new cars. And when Thaler talked about it, he said, and of course, the best choice to make would be the 0% interest option. And I thought, you know, this guy has got a Nobel Prize in economics. He's telling me to do something. And we're thinking about buying a new Kia. The Kia dealership is in Eau Claire, Wisconsin. So I got on the phone and asked if they had the kind of package that I was interested in. I'm not too concerned about what it looked like, but after I talked to my salesperson, I think his name is Sue, he was so interested in accommodating, I started talking about performance and mileage and things like that. So what I'm really doing is somebody is giving a lecture at Google Big Ideas, California, a year ago. I listened to it on YouTube here in Eau Claire, and I get to the tipping point. I get to the point where before I was just thinking about talking to a car dealer, and now I actually do, and I suspect we'd probably be going out this Friday. And I'm saying that there's a lot of things like that. My associate Jeremy, who's on the Eau Claire City Council, is talking about an agenda by which we use the internet and internet resources to relocalize the Eau Claire economy. So then I posted this opinion piece on YouTube, I'm sorry, on Facebook, and my friend who chairs the Eau Claire Economics Department agreed with me and told me that for the last 10 years he and several of his associates had been working on trying to get free internet access. It's not really free, it's a public good. What it means, I want to take that free off of it and say to take some of the tax money that's taken from you and apply it to something that you'll get some use for. Okay, maybe I'm going to keep this policy neutral, so I'm not going to criticize anything now. So then I thought, well, maybe Dr. Kemp would be interested in giving me an independent study in economics where I take this vision of relocalization, work with individuals in a way that I can develop what they call policy impacting research, and we can sort of pull the academic world and the world of the community back together. When I was a young man, when I was growing up, and I used to listen to Wisconsin Public Radio, we had this idea, and I would listen to history lectures when I was a 6-year-old from people like Professor Petrovich, who I ended up taking courses from. Well, I could have done better, but I did get to do that, where we used to say that the borders of the university are the borders of the state. But we have such an amazing product in the lived experience here in Eau Claire that we should have ways of everybody accessing the internet and have a situation where there's a product out there that might not be as prestige as, say, Charter or something like that, but at least it would be something for people to measure up against. We've done those sorts of policies with a lot of other things. There's still a state of Wisconsin life insurance program. I believe that if our present governor hasn't taken it away, which in that fact has been a yardstick for other insurance policies because it gives a policy option. Well, I think that's about as much as I'm going to say about that now, but as I'm working on this net neutrality project, I've got people all over the country that say the same thing that I have. Now, you might say, well, what does that mean? Why are you in favor of net neutrality? And I say, well, there are so many things that we take for granted, and then bit by bit, they're taken away from us. It's like being slowly boiled. You don't notice it's getting hotter, and then suddenly you're in boiling water. Well, I think you might say you would wish things are better now, but they could get a lot worse. And a friend of mine just got back from China, and there's a whole bunch of utilities that you can't use in China. And you can't do things in China. You don't have the same kind of information access as you do. So as whatever we have now, maybe it's not as good as it might be in the Scandinavian social democracies, but at the same time, it's not as bad as it could be, hence the restoration. I think there are a lot of programs where we demand perfection and end up wrecking something that was doing a pretty good job. Well, thanks for watching today, and we'd like to hear from your comments and support, and I'm going to try to get more support for this project. Thank you.